Digin Boyamian, you may begin.
Okay. So Parierego Polorit, Ուրախ որ մեզի հետ եք այսօր մենք 4 շրջանավարտներ ունենք, որոնք 2010-ին ավարտեցին մեր դպրոցը, անոնց մեջ ոմանք արդեն այս տարի համալսարան ավարտեցին Սագավորի դիդրոսով, իսկ երկուքն ալ կշարունակեն իրենց ուսումը եւ պիտի ստանան իրենց վկայականները շուտով։ Այս մեր երրորդ հարցազրույցն է եւ վերջինը այս տարվա համար, հաջորդը պիտի սկսենք սեպտեմբերին ամսական հերթականությամբ եւ պիտի աշխատենք մեր բոլոր շրջանավարտները հրավիրել այս հարցազրույցին։ Ուզենք, որ բոլորն ալ մաս կազմեն այս հարցազրույցին եւ պիտի հրավիրենք հիմնված իրենց ասպարեզի վրա։ Օրինակ, բժիշկներու խումբը, փաստաբաններու խումբը, երկրաչարներու խումբը, ասենք գիտության մեջ մասնակցածներու կամ արվեստի մեջ մասնակցածներու խումբեր։ So welcome everyone. Good evening. And today we have 4 alumni at our round table. This is the 3rd round table of the year and the last one, the final one. The next one will begin in September on a monthly basis, and we will try to invite all our alumni gradually based on their professions, by group of professions. So today they will be sharing, these alumni, their experience at SSAES, their educational paths, their passions they followed after graduation. And we hope that this will help our community have a greater understanding of what our alumni are doing, will be doing, and how our school has been a part of their journey. So Heather.
Thank you, Digin Hori.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, everyone, this evening. As many college students are graduating this May and June, our members of the class of 2010 of St. Stephen's are joining us. We thought we would honor their hard work this month and feature some of them. This evening, our alumni panelists are Sarine Ashjian. She is currently attending UMass Lowell and pursuing her BSN degree. We have Garo Bazarbachian. He's attending Suffolk University. He's graduating with his BS in Business Administration. We have Daron Hamparian. He's just graduated from Boston University with a BS in Biomedical Engineering. And last, we have Natalie Ourfalian. Natalie attends MCPHS. She is a PharmD candidate, and she will be also continuing her education this next few years. The brief biographies that have been written about our students are all available on the school's Facebook and Instagram pages. We encourage you all to follow our Instagram and Facebook pages so that way you can see all of the wonderful alumni stories that we share with our community. Could everybody, let's see, everybody's on, perfect. So we're going to begin. We're going to start with Sarine, and then we'll go around to all of our alumni to have an opportunity to share a little bit about your childhood memories and what you remember most fondly from SSAES. Sarine? He's unmuted.
Okay, hello, did that work? Okay. Hi guys, I'm Sarine. When I think about St. Stephen's, it's a super loaded question. I have a lot of great memories. I went to St. Stephen's like literally for 8 years, I want to say, 10 years. So a couple of memories that I remember really well are of course, our Armenia trip in 5th grade. I know a lot of students highlight is the Armenia trip. And it was super like crazy to learn about everything, starting from preschool to 5th grade, and then finally seeing everything come together. Being there with our classmates and being there with Dean Artemis was incredible. I think when I look back at Armenia trip as a whole, when we went to Gharapag, it was like super special to me personally, especially with everything that happened last September. I remember looking back at pictures when everything was happening in Artsakh, and we had a class picture at the Ghazanjetsot Cathedral, which unfortunately right now is not in our hands. But looking back at those pictures, I'm filled with gratitude just thinking about the fact that I was able to go there with all of my classmates and my mom and my Armenian teacher. It was a really special experience. Եվ ասմասը մեկ հայերենով գուզեմ ասել, բայց կհիշեմ գոր օր մգար, որ արդասանությունը կոծորվեցա դպրոցը, եւ շատ հվարդեի, շատ ուրախ էի, եւ դուն եկա եւ մամայիս բաբայիս նստեցուցի եւ իրենց արջևը արդասանությունը կոծուսի եւ շատ հվարդեի, որ մինագս կրծանել. So little things like that, բզդիքի շադակներ that really I'm super grateful for.
Thank you. Daron?
So obviously our fondest memory was going to Armenia with all our classmates, the people that we consider brother and sister. But for me, it was actually the 2 hours every single day I spent with Digin Anahid during early stay and late stay. So every single morning my dad would drop me off at 7:30, 7 a.m. and I would go straight to Digin Anahid's kindergarten room and do anything from playing games with Digin Anahid or playing games with my classmates or doing extra work with Digin Anahid. And then after classes, I would end up staying there for another hour or two until my mom or dad finished work. And it was a great time spending time with all the classmates that had to stay a little bit longer. We'd go to the gym, we'd hang out, play some basketball. We had chess clubs, and I loved that. And that was definitely my fondest memory, was spending my days with Digin Anahid. She was kind of like my second grandmother, or third grandmother, I should say.
Thank you. Natalie?
Hi guys, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for having us on and for having this roundtable. I think it's a great way for us to stay connected and stay close to the school, so I'm really excited to be here. But I think that all of us can say the same thing. It is so hard to pick one favorite memory of St. Stephen's, but I think that one of my favorites has to be just the first day of school each year. I was always
I think, is Natalie frozen?
Did I freeze?
Yes.
I think I froze.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll start again.
That's okay.
But one of my favorite memories was probably the first day of school. I was always looking forward to seeing my friends at school. I was looking forward to meeting the new teachers, just getting the new year started. And that was always something that I always looked forward to, because St. Stephen was something that I always just wanted to be a part of. Another one of my favorite memories has to be the science fair. I remember one year I made like a volcano and we had it erupt, and it was this whole big ordeal and everyone was so excited to see it. So definitely that was another one of my favorite memories. One more thing, when I would drive to school in the morning with my dad, we would play a game actually. And this is how I got my day started every single day. It was Hayeren Ankleden. So he would say a word in English and I would have to say the word back in Armenian. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get out of the car and get into school. So it was just like a great way to stay like connected. It's a great way to like practice my Armenian, but that was another big thing that I always did. So yeah, St. Stephen's was definitely filled with so many great memories, and those are just a few of them.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Garo?
Yeah, I mean, first, I think Sarine pretty much summarized the memory of Armenia pretty well, so I'm not going to go into that because I think, that's definitely a memory we all share dearly. But just little things that I wrote down that I think I just, for some reason, they just stuck with me, whether that's like, going to the computer lab, and I remember like when we had that time of the day in the curriculum, it was probably like the best time of the day. And it's kind of crazy because I remember back then we would learn about like what a floppy disk is, and now kids are learning how to code. So it's just how we went from A to B is really crazy. But other stuff too, I love how like how the classrooms would be decorated, how the teachers, would put their effort in, how everything was set up. Definitely when I would daydream in class, it was nice to look at something on the wall. But overall stuff like that. And I think Sarine also mentioned this as well. When we were, learn Armenian, at least for me, I could say it definitely felt like the most rewarding in learning. So let's say, I do an Uakuchun and I get a good grade, or it's my turn to read some part of our highest Muchun, and like I do it well. Like that always felt the most rewarding. And I think stuff like that, whether it is practicing my parents or my sisters or my grandma, definitely held a lot of great memories for me. So
Thank you. All right, our next question is, what was your transition like leaving St. Stephen's from secondary through college? And how did that impact you socially and academically? So why don't we start with Garo this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of similarities between how it impacted me academically and socially. And if I were to sum it up, it's pretty much I had to, push myself. So if we're talking academically, I remember going into 6th, 7th grade, and I remember specifically math being just like a little bit challenging for me. But I knew, like, okay, well, something new. I have the basis that I learned at St. Stephen's, so I had to push myself to, do well in class. And that also went with socially. I had to get out of my comfort zone because my whole life I was spent, with kids I grew up with. So now I have to learn how to make new friends, which was definitely a skill. Looking back now, is very important to have, how to make friends, how to talk to people. Luckily, I had a few people I knew at when I went to Winchester Middle School, so that was great to get in. But then from there, it was up to me to use these new skills that I had to craft to step out of my comfort zone. And as of right now, and what I do is very important for me, that I know how to, I guess, maneuver this action. Definitely, it's it impacted me, but in a great way.
Great, thank you, Garo. Natalie?
So I transitioned into Chenery Middle School when I finished my time at St. Stephen's. I was actually really lucky to have a lot of other St. Stephen's students who were graduating with me at the time. So we got to experience it all together at least. So we were all kind of going through the same thing at the same time, and we were all really lucky to kind of lean back on one another if we ever needed to. We also, I played sports when I was in St. Stephen's, and I played them for the town. So I did have a few friends going into the school system. But again, like Garo said, we had to build those skills. We had to, figure out how to branch out a little bit, make some new friends. But we always had those Armenian friends always to like lean back on, and they were always there for us. So we always felt safe having one another. Academically, I felt like we had pretty strong study habits coming out of St. Stephen's, just because we had, nightly homework. We were always studying. We all put a lot of good time and effort into a lot of our classes. So when I transitioned into like middle school and high school, I had those really strong study habits. So I was able to jump right in and apply them. And I thought that I had a pretty strong foundation going into it. So I actually feel as though St. Stephen's built that strong foundation that I honestly have been able to build off of all the way through college. So yeah, I think that I definitely gained a lot from going to St. Stephen's and a lot of the classes that I took.
Thank you. Daron?
So I went to the same middle school as Natalie. We went to Chenery Middle School after St. Stephen's. And I also played sports at Belmont. So I had a good amount of friends from the athletics side of things. So the transition with friends was actually, and socially, was actually very, very easy for me. It actually made me feel like I had two friends groups, because I could always lean back on my Armenian friend groups that I made. Sorry. It's okay. I'll just hopefully, yeah. Oh, she's muted now. So I could always lean back on the friend group that I made from St. Stephen's, but I could also branch out and meet new people in the Chenery Middle School area. Academically, I think that I was actually better off from St. Stephen's. I was much better at algebra than a lot of my friends from sports and whatever they were, my American friends. I think that St. Stephen's actually helped me a lot more than their middle schools did, and I was a lot better at academics than them. It actually helped me a lot in high school as well, and in college. All the math that we did in St. Stephen's, I think our math program was a lot better than a lot of places, and to this day I enjoy math and science, so that's why I got my engineering degree. So yeah, I think St. Stephen's was great for me, I guess.
Thank you, Daron. You want to come do math tutoring?
If need be, yes.
All right, Sarine.
Yeah, so I actually want to piggyback off of what Daron was saying about math. For some reason, like math was definitely my strong suit as well. I remember in fourth grade, we used to have these like math sheets at St. Stephen's with like a bunch of different problems, and we had a certain amount of time, and we would see like how fast we can answer them. And like those small activities definitely helped me like going into middle school. I remember I would answer questions much faster than other kids, especially in math. And I was like, wow, St. Stephen's really helped me with that. So I went to Watertown Middle School after I graduated from St. Stephen's, and academically, I honestly didn't have much trouble. It was a pretty like easy transition. I felt like I was super prepared for all of my courses. I thought the computer classes and the math classes, and even English and all of the core classes that we took at St. Stephen's really like prepared me for middle school. Socially, I would say I did have a little trouble. Just going from a private school to a public school is always going to be a little challenging. I kind of felt super safe and in my own little bubble at St. Stephen's. And then once I got into a public school, I was like, oh my gosh, so many people. And I went from a graduating class of 17 kids who I like knew everything about to like 100 kids that I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know people's names. But I did also have at least 3 or 4 students from St. Stephen's also come to Watertown Middle School with me. So that was definitely beneficial. I remember like we had our little Armenian table during lunch that we would like all sit next to each other. So it was a pretty easy transition for me. I feel like St. Stephen's prepared me well.
I'm going to throw in a little new question that I didn't ask you all before, but how did studying Armenian help you when you were in public school? Because I know the 3 high schools that you all attend have language requirements. So how was Armenian helpful to you? Daron, why don't you take that one? Start with you.
I actually like to think of it as juggling 2 different types of work. So say you're studying math and then you have to study science or whatever it may be. I think learning Armenian and English and going between those 2 different classes all the time, every single day, helped me a lot to being able to juggle different types of tasks. Like I had to use a different part of my brain to understand certain things. And also like if you had to take a Spanish class, like it was a lot easier to understand what type of work you had to do. And I think it was a lot easier to learn a 3rd language, especially if you learned Armenian and English.
Natalie, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, similar to Daron. I mean, I took Spanish in middle school and in high school, and I thought the fact that I could speak Armenian and then all I had to do was learn a 3rd language, and I just had to use those same study habits that I used when I was at St. Stephen's. It was pretty easy for me to like pick up on Spanish. But Armenian also, like Armenian class at St. Stephen's also had the the history and the culture part to it. So a lot of that also just translated to me learning about like American culture and, Spanish culture or whatever it may be at the time. But I just liked learning those things, and I had those previous experiences with them that I was able to pick up on them a little easier.
Garo, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I took Italian in high school. Not gonna lie, I took it so I could take a senior trip to Italy, but it was still a great experience. But it definitely, like looking back and learning Italian, it was easier that I knew another language because it again, what kind of Natalie alluded to, you use the same techniques you use when you're younger to learn this new language. And actually, like, even looking back at it, I was like, well, some language grammar is pretty simple, but then I'm like, I can't believe I learned Armenian. Like, the grammar is kind of crazy. We have like one of the longest letters alphabet, and it's kind of crazy how we were able to learn at such a young age. So it's kind of like, well, once we hit that huge mark, or let's say the language, I'm not saying everything else was easy after that, but it was definitely simpler, and it kind of was easy to learn another language.
Sarine, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so I think it's with learning a new language, I think it's always best if you learn it at a young age. It's much easier to teach children a new language rather than like teaching an adult. But I took Spanish for 7 years, and I definitely noticed that knowing Armenian and English definitely helped me, specifically with like conjugations and things like that, where I was like, oh, okay, it's this in Armenian, so it's this in Spanish. Like, it was much easier to learn a new one knowing that I had already learned another one when I was younger. And I actually, my high school, I went to Watertown High School, and they offered Armenian class. So I took it, but because of going to St. Stephen's since I was 3, I was basically like a second teacher to them, which was actually a cool experience. I got to, help the students that didn't know it as well or were struggling in certain areas. So it was really cool to use what I had learned to like take another language, but also help other students learn it as well.
Very good, Sarine. So 5th grade education in Armenian was pretty helpful.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you. Our next question is, how has attending an Armenian school shaped you, and what were the benefits? I'll start with Natalie this time.
So I think a lot of us have a lot of takeaways from St. Stephen's. Biggest ones, of course, are the fact that now we have such a strong sense of culture and history and where we come from. We have such a strong language that we all can thankfully read and write. Hopefully we can still continue to do that. Also, I think that the biggest takeaway for me is the friends and the sense of community now. So I feel as though I'm a part of a community because of St. Stephen's. We are all still connected, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we still have each other, and we're able to like network with one another, stay connected, meet up for lunch, whatever it may be. It's just a great way to have one another. Also, just the fact that I have long-lasting friends still. All the 4 people that are here today are still my friends. I hang out with them all the time. I still have really great friends from other grades, and I think that it's St. Stephen's that brought us all together, and we're honestly still going to continue to be friends for the rest of our lives because of this school. So I'm really happy about that sense of community that we were able to build.
Thank you. Sarine?
Yeah, so I think that with anybody.
Oh, Sarine, I was in there.
Oh, you have a fan club.
Someone's excited to hear from me. Yeah, so I think that with anybody, like your childhood and like your childhood years are super important in forming kind of like your foundation and the way you live out the rest of your life. And I feel like St. Stephen's really helped me kind of in a lot of different aspects of my life. Like Natalie said, it definitely helped me feel more a part, like be a part of like the Armenian community. I'm in a AEYF, which is Armenian Evangelical Youth Fellowship. I'm in the Sinova Dance Company, and I feel like a lot of my friends are also in a bunch of these different organizations as well. So it's super easy to network with people. I feel really connected to everybody. But I also definitely feel a sense of gratitude and pride when I think of my time at St. Stephen's. My family is a very both my parents grew up Armenian, both their parents were Armenian. So it definitely runs in the family, but I think being a part of St. Stephen's and really learning the language and taking in that culture and having hantesses where we sing the Armenian songs, where we, when we recite the poems and things like that, really, it's like a full circle kind of moment for me, because then I grow up and I realize like how important those things really are and how thankful I am that I was able to be a part of it. And I honestly cannot wait to send my kids to St. Stephen's because it truly changed my life. And I'm really hoping that it's successful the next 10, 20, 30 years so that it can change more people's lives because it truly has changed mine.
Thank you, Sarine. Garo?
Yeah, I think for me, it really boils down to identity and like who I am. Because I know a lot of kids like non-Armenian that are just, I met, through a schooling system or whatever, they have this sort of like lack of identity, who they are, or why do they do what they do? Why do they, go to school? Why do they work? And I think for me, this spark, this like flame, I should say, started at St. Stephen's. It's where I, started to go as scout, started to go to Abaca, started to know about what AYF is, started to learn all this stuff. It started when I went to St. Stephen's, and it happened with all of my other alumnus, everything started there, who we are and who we grew up to be, why we go to school, why do we want to get these degrees, these long, why do we want to work so hard in schooling? I think it all started there because we wanted to, bring up Armenia and bring up our Armenian community. And again, that would not have happened if that spark did not start at St. Stephen's and our identities did not come from there. I think that's where I attribute a lot, or I'm very grateful to, because having that sense of identity definitely helps me, do the hard work, get what I need to get done, and do it for, or know what I'm doing this for.
Thank you. Daron?
I completely agree with what Garo just said. I don't think any of the things I would have done throughout my life would have happened if I didn't have that spark or that fire in me that I ultimately gained from St. Stephen's. I think that St. Stephen's and going to an Armenian school actually shaped me into a much, much better person, and it's affected almost every part of my life. I'm in Homenet Men, I'm in AYF, I play soccer for Homenet Men, I'm an AYF senior. I've been there since I was 8 years old. I went to Camp Hylastan and I spoke Armenian there. I was an Armenian club president at Belmont High. I was an Armenian Students Association president at BU. And I don't think any of the things I would have done in my life would have happened if it wasn't for St. Stephen's. In high school, I think that all my friends were jealous when I would travel from city to city for Homenet Men games or for Olympics, Homenet Men Olympics, or for seniors, AYF Olympics. They were always jealous that I was able to travel and make these friends from across the country or across the world. Some that would come from like Australia. They were always jealous that I would come back and be like, oh yeah, I have a friend that lives there now. They'd be like, how did you meet this guy? How did you actually become friends with them? And it's like, it's only because they're Armenian, and I would speak Armenian to them, or I'd hang out with them all night long and just meet them. And that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't Armenian or if I wasn't able to speak Armenian. When I came to college, college students actually respected the culture aspect a lot more. And they wished they could be in a tight-knit community like we are in. They wish they could go to events like that. They wish that they could have friends from across the world that speak the same language. They were jealous of that. And then another benefit of attending Armenian school and being able to speak Armenian is that you're able to network. When you're in college and you need internships or you need a job, you can talk to people. Like, you can literally see someone that's on the other side of the street and they're speaking Armenian and you understand that, and then you can go up to them and be like, hey, I'm Armenian too. What are you doing? What's your job? Can you help me? And they would gladly help you. So I don't think I would have had any of my internships if it wasn't for my Armenian connection. So that's my spiel.
Thank you. Does anyone want to add anything about their involvement in their Armenian organizations? Natalie, I don't know if you had a chance to share about yours. And what Armenian organizations you've been participating in? Go ahead, hon.
Sure. So I'm currently because I'm still in college. I'm currently still president of the Armenian Students Organization at school, and I was a co-president with Daron back when we were in high school. But actually, one of the really cool new achievements that we just got, and I just got it in the mail actually, we were awarded the best cultural organization at MCPHS University. And it was such a really big accomplishment for all of us because everyone in our club and on our executive board are St. Stephen's students. And the reason that we succeeded so well was because we hosted so many events and got so many students involved in the Armenian community that they saw such a large, turnout to all of our events. They were so impressed. So they voted us as the best cultural organization. That was really fun. No, but I'm also just involved in Home Minute Men. I'm involved in AYF. I like to, attend all those events. I'm also very involved in our church. I usually like to help out as, substitute Sunday school teacher. I usually like to help out my mom who teaches the 5th grade and she does the youth group as well. So I just like to stay connected in the Armenian community like the rest of us. And St. Stephen's definitely has given me that stepping stone to do that.
Great, thank you. Sarine, you were able to share, right? Yes.
Yeah, can I add something too?
Absolutely, please. Anybody who wants to add.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention that I, for 2 years in a row, I was a part of the Armenian Missionary Association of America, the AMAA. And through my church, I actually got to go to Armenia with this organization, and I did missions trips for 2 years. And the missions trips, they entailed a bunch of different things. We would go to people's houses, we would help out the elderly, any work that needed to be done, things like that. We would host like Bible studies. One of the main things that we did was we were counselors for a camp called Camp Hankavan, which was like outskirts of Yerevan, but it was like a really memorable time. And I remember that not everybody that went on the trip spoke Armenian, but the people that did speak Armenian were definitely it was definitely more helpful for us because a lot of the kids there didn't know English. So there was that language barrier, but because I was able to read and write and speak fluent Armenian, I was able to connect with the kids more and really give them the best opportunity that I could while I was teaching them. So I also owe that to St. Stephen's because I wouldn't know how to read, write, and speak with them if it wasn't for the school. So yeah, that was a really cool experience.
Great, thank you. Garo, did you want to add anything? I don't want to cut anybody short.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one thing I should have mentioned before, but I also am the president of Suffolk University's ASA. Like most alumnus, they like to join ASA in college because it's an easy way just to keep the Armenian community alive in your school. And obviously it was a tough year because of COVID to organize events and stuff. But one event that we organized that was actually what I liked about it was we were actually approached to do this event, and it was actually from the student athletes board of Suffolk. So this was around the fall, and this is when what was happening in Armenia and Azerbaijan and Artsakh and all that stuff. And they approached us because they knew about it, and they said, "Hey, we want to hold a panel discussion kind of like this about what's going on, and we want to let other Suffolk kids know." And it was through some people in our club knowing the student athletes that this came together, and through that we were able to also spread awareness, tell them where they should donate, and it was a very successful event. Definitely one of my greatest achievements of just being the president of ASA, but definitely a great time. And I wanted to mention that as well.
So just for all our listeners, pretty much every alumni that's come to the roundtable has served on their college ASA committee. So St. Stephen's does tend to help generate leadership skills in order to translate what they've learned as Armenian students into Armenian leaders in their school. So congratulations, Natalie, on the MCPHS award for your Armenian club.
Thank you.
All right, we will keep up the good work. Everyone is very appreciative of you continuing your work at the ASA at your colleges. Our next question is, tell us about your educational path, so your major and that you have chosen, and what your plans are for this summer and beyond. So why don't we begin with Garo?
Yes, so I will be graduating actually this Saturday with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, specifically with a major in finance and some minors in entrepreneurship, business law, and business analytics. Why did I decide that? I think when I was young, I always would tell my parents, like, I want to be a businessman. I want to, do this, blah, blah, blah. I think the reason why I would say that is I don't like blood. So anything medical off the table. Lawyer was on the table, but then I was like, I don't want to talk that much. No, I don't want to do that. And then it wasn't until I got into high school and I kept saying I wanted to do business, but I didn't really know what that meant. And it wasn't until I met some people. There's actually I took an economics class in high school, which really opened up my mind. Like, what actually am I, what is this business that I want to look into? And finance is where I landed. And I think I got lucky because it turns out that I was pretty good at it. It's something that I liked to do, which is very important. I think that everybody should, like what they study. From there, that's what I did my 4 years. And I love, working in finance. I've had experiences, actually, kind of what Daron said. I've had many experiences from having Armenian networks that were in, whether that's wealth management or accounting. It was through having these Armenian networks that I was able to get those. And then for the summer, I will actually be working as an allocation analyst for TJX companies. So why that, or how that happened, is so I like I said before, I think I'm pretty talented in finance and all that stuff, but my interest kind of lies more in fashion, media, and tech. And this was one company that definitely, it's in the area, so I really like the company and all that stuff. And I remember I was actually supposed to intern with them last summer, and then that went great, but then obviously it got canceled because of COVID and everything. But then luckily enough, a week later, they just offered me a job for this summer. So then from there, I accepted right away because like most people, I didn't know what was going to happen a year later in a pandemic. So that was very exciting. So I'm going to start that in July. And from there, I expect to, stay within that industry. Again, it's where my interest lies. I also, as part of my bio, I think if people read, I, run this clothing brand, Bass Studios. That's another hobby I do right now, but, it's where I'm able to also my interest.
Daron is showing a fashion statement of his shorts from Baz Fashion.
One of our most recent release. Thank you, Daron. But yeah, again, those are more the hobbies. So stuff like that is where I would like to continue with this. And I mean, even beyond, maybe go on more entrepreneurial endeavors. Again, just keep moving forward. But I'm very excited to start that.
Well, congratulations on Baz. I know that many of the alumni have been supporting your initiative and are very encouraged by that startup. So good luck with that, and good luck at the TJX. So why don't we move on to Natalie?
So I am currently in my 4th year out of 6 years. I'm currently pursuing my doctorate of pharmacy at MCPHS University. So I can tell you a little bit about how I got here and what I'm currently doing. So I really just wanted to get into the medical field. I didn't really know if I wanted to become a pharmacist, but I did want to get my foot in with research and just being exposed to pharmaceutical industries, because that was kind of where a lot of my my interests were. So when I got into college at about my 2nd year, I had to apply into the pharmacy program. So I went through a whole interview process, and I had to write a whole bunch of essays. But so then I got into the pharmacy program, and then I got my white coat, which was very exciting. So after I got my white coat, I applied into the honors school at MCP, and I was really fortunate. I did get into the honors college. There's currently 8 of us out of our whole entire grade. So it's a really big accomplishment, I feel like. The honors program has given me the ability to research one-on-one with mentors and professors. So I'm currently working on a manuscript with my biochemistry professor. My medicinal chemistry professor, and we're studying, I don't know if you guys are interested, but we're studying extractables and leachables in the bioprocessing of biologics, which is something that's really interesting. It's very up and coming. So I'm really excited to finish that up. I hope to have it published sometime during the summertime. And then I'm also working on my final research project, which is the big, my 6th year, I'll have it published, but that's going to be an alcohol withdrawal. And I'm going to be doing it at Leahy Hospital with another mentor. And I'm just going to be studying different medications and which are kind of more efficacious in treating alcohol withdrawal in acute, inpatient settings. So that's a lot of what I'm researching now. Throughout my whole entire time at college, I have been working. So I work at Osco Pharmacy. At Osco Pharmacy, actually, I'm giving the COVID vaccine. Today, I actually gave a 13-year-old their COVID vaccine, which is very exciting because young kids are starting to get vaccinated as well. So I give vaccines, I help patients, I counsel, so on, stuff like that. And I work at Emerson Hospital. Similar idea. I'm a pharmacy intern there too. So I do a lot of similar work there. I'm also a peer tutor in calculus. This is for Daron and our strength in math. So, so I am a peer tutor in calculus, and that's also, I'm really good at that because of St. Stephen's. They did build that strong math foundation for me. But yeah, so this summer, I'm just hoping to work on a directed study with another professor, and those are my goals as of right now. But I hope to hopefully graduate in 2 years in May, and then I'm most likely going to go into the pharmaceutical industry route. But I'm still not sure. I still have a lot of doors that are open that I can pursue. Yeah.
And I'm sure you know of the Armenian Pharmacists Association, so make sure you network with our Armenian pharmacists. All right, Sarine.
Hi. So after I graduated high school, I actually started my first year of college at UMass Boston. And then I ended up transferring to UMass Lowell after my freshman year. I am currently majoring as a nurse, and I have a minor in public health as well. So I have 2 years left to graduate with that. And then hopefully after that, I might try and see if I can be a registered nurse, so go for my RN. But so kind of how I got here, I've always loved working with children ever since I was young. So my mom actually owns a daycare. She has for many years now. So I've worked with her for like 5+ years. And I always loved the infants, the toddlers. I loved working with the babies. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago where my little cousin actually got sick. And when we went to visit her in the hospital, I just saw the relationship that she had. She was like, I want to say 12 at the time, that she had with the nurses on her floor. And she was like literally friends with them, and they treated her so well, and she felt so safe and so at home. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So after that, I kind of put my love for children and medical kind of together. So I decided to, pursue pediatric nursing. So I will start my clinicals in this upcoming fall. I'm going to have my maternity clinical at Lowell General, and then my pediatrics will be at Boston Children's Hospital, which I'm super excited for. And then last summer, I was actually supposed to go with the AMA to Armenia with their medical missions program. But unfortunately, due to COVID and everything that was going on in Armenia, it just wasn't the best time. So hopefully next summer, I'm hoping to do that so I can kind of take my knowledge of medicine from here and, go back to our homeland and see if I can help out there any way I can.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarine. Daron?
Hello. So I just graduated with my Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering with a concentration in technology innovation. So how I chose this major, I think it was in, I want to say 11th grade. I was applying to colleges and I was thinking about what I wanted to do. I was kind of all over the place because I had a bunch of different interests, but I always wanted to go into healthcare because my mom's a nurse and I've always looked up into that, and I've always seen her as like, wow, she comes back and she gets all these gifts from patients, or these patients are so happy. And so I wanted to do that, and my mom told me not to do that. And so I had to think of other things to do. And I took this class at Belmont High, and it was a coding/engineering class. And I really thought that was amazing. And then my brother decided to take biomedical engineering. So I will let him have that little hurrah. He paved the way. But he showed me that I can mix my healthcare interest with my engineering interest. And that's where I got the biomedical engineering. I want to say my freshman summer, I actually interned at the Nazarian lab at Beth Israel, And if I didn't have the Armenian connection, I would not have gotten this internship. I worked in the orthopedics lab, specifically working on how mechanical loading of an Achilles tendon affects the healing of an Achilles or torn Achilles. So I worked on that for 2 years. I had a couple abstract submissions and publications. I presented a poster to the Biomedical Engineering Society, which was supposed to be in Las Vegas this year, but because of COVID, it got canceled. I also worked as a pharmacy technician, like Natalie does, but I work at Inman Pharmacy in Cambridge. I've been working there since senior year of high school, and that's kind of also sparked my interest in working in medical devices or pharmaceutical. And then my like this summer, I'm supposed to be working for Zoll Medical, specifically in the regulatory affairs unit, specifically also working for their defibrillators, the R series and the X series. And I'm supposed to be helping them submit their whatever changes they make to that medical device to the FDA. And then later on, I want to get my MBA and go into product development or product management. And yeah, that is my goal and my spiel.
Thank you, Daron. Well, I think we're going to have to invite everybody back in about 5 years to see where you're all at with your plans. Congratulations to all of you for all of your hard work. You have been very hardworking students. You've been involved in the Armenian community. You've been involved in your Armenian Student Association at your colleges, as well as pursuing your degrees. So it's commendable for all of you. Before we open things up to questions, and if any viewers have questions, please feel free to write them in the chat, because I will check the chat out in a few moments to ask them. But do any of you have any parting words to share with, if our parents are watching, or maybe future students who are potentially going to be applying to college in the future? We have some younger alumni on, I noticed. Any advice on college choices and the process, since you've all just finished that? I see we have a few young alumni on. Anyone, Daron?
I'll say one thing. When you write your college application, do not be afraid to say you're Armenian or talk about your Armenian experiences. I think every single one of us have said that, and I think it helps you get into college, and it shows that you have a culture and you're not just there, if that makes sense.
Anyone else?
I want to add to that. I feel like when you're writing your college essays, a lot of schools look for like something different, something out of like the normal things that they always read. And being Armenian is like such a blessing, and it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. And I think we should use it any way we can. I know I used it in my college essay and in a bunch of my papers in high school. Any prompt that we had, or any open essays that we had to write about whatever we wanted, I would always incorporate the culture somehow, because it truly is like such a big part of who I am and my childhood and things like that. So I definitely agree with Daron to, talk about it when you can.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to add that we are all a really big community here, and all of the speakers here, and I'm sure the rest of our classmates and people that are older than us, are always happy to network with you, no matter where you are in your life, no matter at what point in college or even in high school. Even if you just have a few questions, we would all be happy to sit down and talk about what we're interested in, what we're doing, what we're pursuing, how we got there. I just want to say that all of us feel the same way when we say we are a big family and we're here to help out one another at all times.
Thank you, Natalie.
I just literally want to echo that. Exercise the Armenian network. It has gotten me to where I am now, and I don't know where I would be without it, without knowing the people I know. Don't be scared. Reach out to them, because again, we are Armenian and we're here to help each other. I think no one's going to turn you down. And another thing, kind of a little off topic, people love talking about themselves. So if you want to network with somebody, they're gladly will do it and talk to you. So yeah, definitely exercise that. That's one of the biggest tips I can say.
Thank you. So I don't see any questions in the chat. So you all have done an excellent job explaining about your majors and your school and your experiences. So I'm going to give each of you one last moment to share any final thoughts before we leave for the evening, and then I'll turn it to Mrs. Boyamian. So Sarine?
Yeah, so I also did want to add something. For any parents that are watching that are kind of like confused or on the edge of like, should I send my child to St. Stephen's or should I send my child to an Armenian private school? Sometimes it's like raises some questions. Are they going to get the same experience that other kids get at public schools or other private schools? Like, obviously I can't force anybody, but I want to say, like, please send your child to St. Stephen's. Like, you will not regret it. All of my classmates and all of the students that I've talked to before me that have graduated, my brother, my cousins, everybody feels the exact same way. I've like rarely come across anybody that's had a negative experience with the school. I'm super, super grateful for them and thankful for everything that they've done for me. And they've really shaped me into who I am. So I urge you to, yeah, definitely send your kids here. I can't wait to send mine. Again, I said that. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Sarine. Daron?
I want to say send your kids to Armenian school, obviously. That's the big takeaway of here. But I will say, if anyone wants to reach out and ask me questions about why I chose whatever major, why I chose to go to BU, and any of that, feel free. If you're confused on if they should go to Armenian school, then you can ask any of us. I think any of us would say it was probably the best 8 years, 9 years of our lives, and we wouldn't have changed anything about it. Well, there was one more thing I was going to say. All right, come back to me.
I'll come back. Garo?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to say thank you, Deacon Heather and Deacon Brown, for setting this up. I think this was a great time. But I also, yeah, again, just to reiterate that, send your kids to Armenian school. I think as I grew older, I realized how grateful I was for going to school. Like, when you're a kid, you really don't know that you're living in the great times until you're much older and your back hurts and whatever. But I owe a lot to St. Stephen's, whether that's my friends, whether that's who I have become, or even to like what my goals are and will be. I owe a lot to the school, and I think if I'm Armenian, I think it's the best place to learn Armenian. If that's very important for you, it's the easiest way. I think Sarine mentioned it before. The best way to learn a language is when you are younger, because you're developing. It's much easier to, I guess, retain the information. Because I always say like, oh, I want to learn a different language, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's impossible. And I could barely, I try to speak as much Armenian as I can now, but it's very important that, if you want to know Armenian and continue to learn your culture for your kids and future generations, to send them to Armenian school, St. Stephen's, it definitely means a lot.
Thank you. Natalie?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Heather Tanti. Thank you, Deacon Hoodie, for having this networking event, this roundtable event. I was looking forward to it so much. I enjoy seeing everybody here, seeing everybody connected. St. Stephen's, like I've said so many times, is my foundation. It's what a lot of my passions, my interests stem from. It's why I have the Armenian friends that I have now. It's why I'm involved in so much of the Armenian community now. So just like everyone said, echoing again, we are always here to talk about our experiences, and we obviously enjoyed our time while we were at St. Stephen's. So thank you.
Thank you. Daron, did you remember?
No, I didn't, but I'm going to say
That's okay.
I'm going to say thank you to everyone that came, and
You're welcome.
it was great talking about ourselves.
Michael, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody, on behalf of the board of directors of the school, thank you to our graduated students, our alumni. As far as the school board is concerned, we're so proud of you guys and all of our graduates. Really, the school has just turned out so many great students all years, all across the board. So it makes us feel great to have you guys do this. We're so proud of you. We're proud of Deacon Hoodie, our administration, all of our teachers. They just do a fabulous job with all of our kids. We couldn't be happier. And great to be with you all tonight. So thanks.
Deacon Hoodie, I'll let you end the program.
Yes. So Ես ամբողջ սրտով կողունակ եմ. I am so satisfied with this event. I am full of optimism. Լավադեսությամբ լեցված եմ, որովհետև գիտեմ, շնորհիվ ցեզի, շնորհիվ Սուրբ Ստեփանոս ասկային վարժարանի շրջանավարտներուն, մեր համայնքը ավելի զորավոր է։ Ես հույս ունիմ, որ մեր համայնքը պիտի հարաճ դիմե, պիտի զարգանա եւ մեր դպրոցնալ միևնույն ժամանակ պիտի մեծնա, հավանաբար մենք պիտի ունենանք օրմը միջնագարկ եւ երկրորդական վարժարան։ Շնորհիվ բոլորիդ, շնորհիվ ցեզի։ Ուրեմն շնորհակալություն ցեզի, սիրելի շրջանավարտներ, եւ արիթը պիտի դրանք ծեր բոլոր ընկերներուն, մեր մյուս շրջանավարտներուն, կալ սեպտեմբերեն սկսյալ։ So again, I repeat, I'm full of optimism, seeing our alumni students who are thriving in their studies and who are also so active in the community, in their association, Armenian association at their universities, with their leadership role that they are playing everywhere they are. So գրգին շնորհակալություն բոլորիդ, հաջողություն ցեզի եւ միշտ գաբի մեջ եղեք դպրոցին հետ եւ ծեր ընկերներուն հետ։ Բարի գիշեր բոլորիդ, շնորհակալություն սիրելի ներկաներ, որ եկաք եւ մտի գրիք մեր շրջանավարտներուն։ Բարի գիշեր բոլորիդ։